Hey everybody, it's me, Shala360, and I'm here to talk about chapters 17 and 18 of Bright by Jessica Jung. And I know you're probably like, why do you always put the book next to your head? And it's because if I don't put it next to my head, I really don't have any thumbnail to work with, so thumbnail purposes. I'm in my car once again because today is June the 3rd and it is free donut day or National Donut Day. I don't know. All I know is that Krispy Kreme was giving a free donut to everybody today. Dunkin' Donut was giving a free donut to everybody today. And since I needed an excuse to get out the house so I could record this video, that's what I'm doing. I also have this drink from them. It's a caramel mocha and it tastes good, but it's got rock sugar on top, caramel syrup, and then this is frozen whipped creation. It is tooth-achingly sweet. Just impossible. I'm definitely not going to be able to eat them two together. Anyway, chapter 17, we're right where we left off in terms of DB Entertainment being like, y'all are caught, bitches. But it turns out Rachel hasn't been caught, because just when you think shit is getting sweet, things are getting juicy, they go back to like, just kidding. So it turns out that Eunji got caught because nothing bad ever happens to Rachel, because everyone loves Rachel so much and Rachel has all the best luck in the world. So it turns out that the paparazzi were following Gungwoo and Eunji when they left the restaurant. Eunji took off her sunglasses when they got in Gungwoo's car, though they then drove to a waffle shop and had an ice cream cone that they shared and then kissed each other. So Reveal Magazine is the paparazzi who caught all of these candid photos, and they basically told DB Entertainment, like, you can either decide to let us be the ones to announce that they're in a relationship, or we can publish all the pictures we have. But if you let us announce it, then we're only going to publish the photos of them in the car together and them sharing ice cream instead of sharing the photos of them kissing, which kind of sucks. But again, knowing Korean entertainment for the last several years, this is reasonable. This is reasonable. So at this point, Eunji's pissed because she's like, but I didn't go on this date by myself. I went on this date with Rachel. Why is Rachel not in trouble? Why is it just me? And Mr. No's like, oh, we know Rachel's on a date, but they don't have photographs of Rachel. They got photographs of you, and that's why you are in trouble. But Rachel's here because we want to let her know that she's skating on thin ice, and at any moment this could be her, and we got the same fucking punishment for her. Oh, by the way, that cosmetics endorsement you were thinking you were going to get, yeah, they called this morning. They canceled that shit. So Eunji's pissed, and Rachel's just like, yes, sir, Mr. No. So they leave the conference room from this meeting, and Eunji's like, that's just not fair. You had your boyfriend there. I had my boyfriend there. Why am I the one who gets caught? Why do you get everything you want? And girl, Eunji, you were asking the $1 million question, because if that's not the fucking truth, why does Rachel get everything in the fucking world and nobody else does? So after that, it's time to go to the multi-group concert. And here's where Jessica/Rachel confirms some K-pop lore that we been knew because it literally went to court, that NG is this group that's supposed to kind of mirror image mimic JYJ, and they're at this multi-group concert. Leah and her group Sego are on stage, and Mina and Rachel overhear Mr. No threatening to pull all of his groups from the concert if the concert promoters allow N and G to get on stage. And what's really weird is that there's not a lot of times where she uses names of like real channels on here. She actually straight up names Mnet as being who this was told to. So I thought that was interesting. But again, this is tea that we've been knew. We've been knew that SM sabotaged JYJ. So then it's time to get on stage. And if you remember the last time we talked, the stage performance is for their new song, and they have these black dresses that they rip off, and then there's mini dresses underneath. So when Rachel rips off her black dress, she all of a sudden feels like a sharp pain in her foot, and it's because while she was, I guess, spinning out of her dress, Eunji came by and like stomped her on the foot with her heel. And so luckily Rachel manages not to fall out, but she's in an incredible amount of pain and barely makes it through the performance. And Mr. No sees this and is like, girl, get your shit together. I need all of y'all to be tight. This is a business. And Eunji and Mina and Lizzie are making fun of her stumbling on stage. And so Rachel's like, you know what, there's supposed to be an after party tonight, but I'm not going to go to the after party because I just don't want to be around any of these people right now. And while she's in the car with her manager to go back to the villa, she gets a text message from her parents like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. We need to tell you something. And she's like, what? And like, well, not a text message. I think it's a FaceTime, either a FaceTime or a call. Apparently her parents had been trying to call her all day, which is bizarre because like she has all these missed calls from her parents, 5 missed calls, but her and her sister are on a televised multi-group concert. Her parents know the schedule. And the reason I know they know is because Leah works for the same entertainment company and Leah lives at home. So they knew that like Rachel wasn't going to be able to answer her phone tonight unless it's an emergency. So calling 5 times, she's like, you know, what's going on? What's happening? Her parents like, great news. We bought an apartment 5 miles away or 5 minutes away from where you live. So it's in Cheongdam-dong. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. I should look it up, but I'm not gonna. Anyway, her parents like, we bought an apartment 5 minutes away from you. We're so excited. We're going to get to see you more. So that's when she realizes, oh, all those times my dad was texting me at 3 a.m. in the morning, it's because he was working super hard. Which again, Rachel never notices anything about anybody until it benefits her. So she goes over to her parents' new place and they serve her kimchi fried rice with a sunny side egg on top. And they're just like, yeah, we got this new place because we want to be closer to our girls. And she talks about like the fact that the house has all the same furniture from their old place, but like she doesn't know how her parents could afford to live in this neighborhood because of the fact that this neighborhood is like a wealthy neighborhood. And that's when I wanted to talk about something that is never talked about in Bright. It's never talked about in Shine. And I don't know why this isn't talked about because I feel like it's important. They never talk about the money that idols make because my impression was if my parents had 2 kids that were in K-pop and I had been in K-pop for 5.5 years, I would assume that I would have made enough money, especially if my parents are doctors, lawyers, whatever, because her mom's a professor, her dad is a lawyer, that together we would have enough resources to move my parents into a really nice neighborhood. So I'm just surprised that it took her parents 3 years to earn the money to be able to buy this apartment and that Rachel didn't have the funding to move her parents into this nice apartment. And I don't know if it's just like for narrative purposes we're doing this, but I'm wondering like in real life, has Jessica ever bought her parents an apartment? And I know that's like none of my business and it's not something that she has to do, but Jessica in interviews always talks about how close she is with her family, how close she is with her parents, how close she is with her sister. So it would make sense for her to buy an apartment for her parents. And I don't know, it just seems like in the book, Rachel would have done the same thing. So anyway, she goes to their apartment, they're kikiing, having a good time, and her parents are like, we have this guest room that's for you whenever you decide to visit. And the guest room has her favorite fresh flowers, her favorite candle. It's got a desk for her and all this other stuff. And Jessica's like, or Rachel's like, you know what? I'm just going to move in. I'm just going to move in because this is really nice. You guys custom made this for me and I'm tired of them bitches at the villa. So the next day, she gets up to make breakfast, but her mom already left for work and Leah already left for the company. So she's just talking with her dad. And the conversation that her and her dad have is such a weird conversation because it sounds like a conversation that was supposed to be had later on. So I'm going to save that and then I'm going to read it for you. And then you tell me what you think of their conversation that's had before she moves out of the Girls Forever villa. So she's talking to her dad. They have this conversation, which we'll go back to. And then she goes back to the villa and everyone's getting ready for the morning, doing what they're doing. And she's like, hey guys, I have an announcement. I'm moving out. And some of the girls are super pissed. And she's like, listen, my parents got a place 5 minutes away. I can still go do all of our group activities. I won't miss a fucking thing. But I just think it'd be better for me to like be with my family right now because they bought this place just for me to come see them. And, you know, things are tight around here. Maybe it'll be better if we get a little space. And Eunji, when Rachel first comes in, everybody's like, oh, did you get hungover and go home with somebody last night? Eunji's like, she would never do that to her boyfriend. And of course, everybody's like, record scratch, boyfriend? That's when everybody finds out that Rachel's dating Alex, which I told you guys in the last review, don't be telling hoes you got a boyfriend. Keep that shit on the down low. Anyway, she ends up telling everybody, yes, I have a boyfriend. His name is Alex. No, I don't have any pictures of him. We met in Singapore. And of course, June's like, the fuck? Because that's when she and her boyfriend got caught. And she's like, we were not dating then. That's when we met. because Mina was also like, you told me you weren't meeting a boyfriend. You said you were meeting a friend of a friend. And she's like, he's a friend of my friend's. However, we were not dating. It was our first time meeting each other, but we began a long distance relationship. And so here we are. So she's like, I'm just going to go to my room and pack my shit. She goes back to her room. And when she gets there, Eunji's in the door like, so you're really moving out? She's like, yeah, I'm really moving out. And so Eunji's like, that sucks that you're moving out. This kind of like, it's a weird transition. But anyway, Rachel's like, listen, I'm sorry you and your boyfriend got caught. You know, I hate that for you. And I felt bad hearing about it, but it's not my fault. It's actually DB's fault for not protecting our privacy. And this is a really interesting take on this, because there is a conversation to be had about what happened to K-pop. So there's a podcast by a show called Radiolab, and it's a podcast that talks about the Korean paparazzi, and it talks about Junghyun when he got caught with Shin Se-kyung when they were dating. And the reason why this podcast was about that, this podcast was taken before Junghyun passed away, by the way. So if there's anything that seems insensitive, just understand this entire podcast was recorded, published, everything before Junghyun passed away. But in the podcast, they talk about the fact that prior to Junghyun's dating scandal, the paparazzi, the newspapers in Korea were like in the pockets of these major labels and television stations. And so a lot of times celebrities, idols, and the like, they never got caught in dating scandals because the labels would work with these people to keep scandals on the down low. But I think it was the sports people, can't remember their name now for some reason, but they were the ones who got the pictures of Junghyun walking Shin Se-kyung home, and they decided to publish the photos without alerting SM. And they did it because it wasn't a matter of them hating Junghyun or hating SM or even becoming like the kind of like relationship rag that they've become now. It was actually more of, I think it was Ilsen Sport. Anyway, it's more of an issue of they felt like the Korean press was corrupt, and that so many times if something scandalous happened, they would have to go to somebody to get paid off about the scandal instead of just like freely printing the news and not having to report to anybody about what it is they wanted to print. And they're like, we're going to start with celebrities, but then like if governor gets in trouble or a mayor or whatever else, we're just gonna start printing stories instead of trying to go to somebody to get the okay to print stuff. So really the whole Junghyun scandal in their mind was about freedom of the press. It has since dissolved into something less than that, but whatever. Anyway, I say all that to say that Rachel saying that DB could do more to protect their idols, in a time a long time ago, they could have done more. In a time a long time ago, absolutely, the newspapers, the journalists, the online publications would never print pictures of celebrities, because the system was you go to the label, you let them know kind of what you need from them, and then you guys shake hands and you do what you need to do. And that's actually what ends up happening to Eunji after the meeting with Mr. No. Mr. No's like, that makeup endorsement you wanted, that's gone. However, these people said, you know, if you agree to let them publish your dating news, they will not publish the kissing photos. So the way things work now, the media is not something that the labels can control. And so maybe Rachel saying that DB could do more is like the labels need to start suing the paparazzi. But again, if we're talking about it being an issue of free press, what suit could you bring? And I mean that absolutely sincerely. If you're walking in a public area and I'm not zooming through the windows of a private residence to take pictures of you doing something, if you are in a store, which is in public, you're on the street, which is in public, even if you're on your car on the street in public, and you've got clear windows, so you're within public view, and I take a picture of you doing something and you happen to be a celebrity, how can you sue me? Because you're in public. Now, it'd be different if you're in your hotel room or you're in the bathroom and you're in a place where it is expected that you have privacy. and I go into that sacred space and I take a picture of you, absolutely, you need to sue me. You should sue the shit out of me. But if you are in a public setting and you are a celebrity, and I can only speak for America because I'm not sure what the rules are in Korea, but here in America, if you are a celebrity or a public figure is what they call it, and you get a photo taken of you in a public place doing something, you have no recourse to go back and sue somebody for taking a picture of you because you are a public figure. And since you make your money off of being a public figure, then you kind of eliminate a certain layer of privacy that maybe your average citizen would be entitled to. And even in Korea, as an average citizen, if you get caught doing something wildly inappropriate in public, people on the street can take photos of you. And so, yeah, I absolutely and fully believe that there is nothing that an SM or a DB Entertainment in this case really can do anymore in the climate that we live in. Also, like, take into account, we also are in a climate where it's not just the journalists and the newspapers that are taking these photographs, it's the tourist. If it's somebody who loves K-pop and recognizes their favorite idol out on the street doing something, they're going to take a picture. Fans always take pictures. I remember it's been now probably 3 or 4 years ago, perhaps, BTS was on a break, and it wasn't like the COVID break that they took. This was different. They were like going to get like 2 weeks off. It was a ridiculous break because it was really no time at all. But I remember Jimin, I believe, was in Paris, and he was at a club somewhere, maybe not a club, maybe like a cafe. It was someplace where like it was a club environment and that there was a lot of young people there, but it was like clear windows, and most of the time clubs have blacked out windows. Anyway, he's at this club talking to some girls, and somebody took pictures through the window of this club, and a bunch of fans were like, this is a invasion of his privacy. How dare you? He's allowed to be who he wants to be. You know, he's in Paris on his break. The company said to leave them alone because they're on their break. And it's like, this wasn't dispatch. This wasn't one of those kind of things. This was somebody who happened to be in Paris at the same time, recognized this famous K-pop idol, and took photos. So at this point, it's really hard for these labels to monitor and see every single thing and protect their artists at every single point. And even outside of that, there's a lot of lawmakers, especially conservative lawmakers, who want to regulate social media and make it to where if somebody posts something on social media, the social media company is responsible for what people post. But you take an app like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, there's so many people on these apps at all times of the day or night. It is impossible to catch all of the people who do anything inappropriate. And it doesn't make any sense to sue the social media platform that allows this opportunity if they have rules in place saying you can't do this, and they have a reporting mechanism that they can prove they are trying to use to enforce their rules. If they're doing those things, it makes no sense for Johnny's mom to sue TikTok because her son saw somebody doing the cinnamon challenge and he decided to take a spoonful of cinnamon, suck it up, and then suffocated. That's not going to be TikTok's fault because, again, they can't stop every single person without just shutting down apps entirely. And unfortunately, we live in a moment in society where we can't do without social media. So if you take into account that websites like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, that they can't stop the complete influx of material they get all the time, then how is somebody like an SM or a DB Entertainment gonna protect their idols before things get published, before things get printed, before things get well known? It's just not a realistic expectation. And so the most that a company can do is to control the artist, and it sucks. But I think what the company could do, instead of mainly trying to instead of protecting privacy in places where it's impossible to protect privacy, allow idols to be more human. And I think that's what we've been seeing over the last several years. We've made it to where a Shin Se-kyung dating scandal like Jonghyun had, that's no longer a scandal anymore. When Kang Daniel got caught dating Jihyo, people were kind of like, ooh, but that didn't stop his career, and it didn't stop her career, and they kept going. And Kai has been dating all kinds of people. his career keeps going. We're not in a place anymore where that's a big issue. But I think it's because that's something that the labels have learned over the years, is that we can't stop the flow of information. We can't catch every single thing through a sieve. Society is no longer under our control in terms of everyone having a cell phone and being able to instantly upload things as they see them. So all we can do is we can try to control the way the narrative is perceived by telling our story and delivering our side of the narrative once the photos are printed. And also, we can tell our idols, like, be very careful, be sure you know what you're willing to defend. Make sure it's that important to you. So that's how I feel about that. But anyway, after having this conversation with Eunji, Rachel is still packing her stuff, getting ready to go that day, and she sees her Balenciaga bag in her closet, and it looks like somebody's been using it, because it's like the leather's all battered, there's ink stains on it, like it's just in bad condition, and she's pissed. So in the midst of her conversation with Eunji, because again, Rachel's totally oblivious and just a shitty person sometimes, she stops her conversation mid-paragraph, goes into the room like, who's using my fucking bag? And Lizzie's like, are you calling me a thief? She's like, I'm not calling you a thief. I just want to know where my bag is. And she's like, you know what? This is the reason why I need to move the fuck out of here. Also, Lizzie, if you want to go back home and live with your family, I would support you if you want to do it too. This is not just about me getting whatever I want. And then she turns around and is like, what did she say? She says something. Oh, and she's like, and Ji-yoon, you're going to get your own room. So yeah, that's how the chapter ends. Now, I read all that. Now I'm going to read the conversation that Rachel has with her dad. And you tell me if this is a conversation that she should have had before she went to the villa or after she went to the villa. So this is the conversation. That night, I stay up late sketching at my new desk, then fall asleep in a pair of pajamas borrowed from Uma. It's the best sleep I've had in a while. The next morning, Appa and I sit at the kitchen table with bowls of kongnamul guk. I'm probably saying it wrong. Uma made for us before heading out to her morning class at Iwa. I try not to feel guilty for how long our commute is now, and I make a mental note to cook breakfast tomorrow. At least I can save her some time that way. Lee is already out for the day too, but the new apartment is close enough to his office that Appa can enjoy breakfast with me before heading in. Are you okay, daughter? He asked, and I looked down at my soup, swirling the soybean sprouts around with my chopsticks. You look like you have a lot on your mind. You're not regretting your decision, are you? Not regretting, no, I say. I just wonder what the girls will think. Your members, Appa says sympathetically. I nod. And the media. Last night, everything felt so right. But as soon as I woke up this morning, I was filled with the impending dread of telling everyone the news. It's true that the little annoyances of living with 8 girls have begun to grate on me, and clearly things have been tense around the villa for the past few days in the wake of what happened with Eunji. But truly, I'm not moving out because of what I'm leaving behind, but because of what I'm moving to. I don't know, I say to Appa. I guess a part of me feels like I should have stuck it out at the villa, even though I already feel so much better living here. I don't want to disappoint anyone or look like I'm giving up. He holds my gaze across the table. If there's one thing I know about you, it's that you're not a quitter. You're just doing things your way, like you've always done. I swallow the lump forming in my throat and I nod. Thanks, Appa. He smiles. Now eat your soup. Does that sound like a conversation she should have had before going to the villa and telling everybody that she's leaving? Or does this sound like a conversation she would have after she left the villa and is talking to her dad about how it went? I just feel like there could have been more careful editing done to that chapter, but that's just my opinion. So at the end of chapter 18, we're at page 251, which is pretty good because I think the last time we spoke, we saw that the book ends at 370, I think was what it was. Was it 370 or 380? I think it ends at 378. So it ends at 378. So we've only got like another 135 pages to go, 36 pages to go. I'm sure my math is off. But anyway, we're not long for the rest of this book. So we should probably have it finished in another week and a half probably. But yeah, I feel like one of the things that I do like about this book is that it gives us a chance to re-examine some of the things that have happened in K-pop, some of the motivations of our record labels, some of like what is the truth, what's not the truth, what really could be helped, what couldn't be helped. But again, if anybody was waiting for the tea, I just feel like Jessica's incapable of giving us the tea. And not just because of NDAs that she signed when she got out of her contracts, but just because, like, she's not a very observant person. At least if she's anything like Rachel, she's not a very observant person. So she probably didn't notice a lot of the really good stuff that was happening around her. Like, if you comment below, if you could have any idol write a book about their life as an idol, from trainee to maybe current period, who would you pick to write that book? Personally, I would love a book from Key. Key from SHINee, I think, would write an incredible book. And if he had to be like 100% honest in everything he wrote in that book would be an immediate bestseller. I would buy several copies. I would give them to friends for Christmas. Like, it's a great, that would be great. I would love for, I think I'd love for Jimin from BTS to write a book, just because of the fact that we know that he's had to deal with self-esteem and like physical self-image stuff, and he's now, of course, one of the most popular members of the group, and so kind of like navigating that and being comfortable in himself while knowing he's always physically kind of under scrutiny. I would love for Taeyeon to write a book just to like refute some of the shit in Shine and Bright. I think that'd be interesting. I would love for Park Bom to write a book. But Park Bom right now, she might be an unreliable narrator, so I'd like to get her to a space with her mental health where she's feeling good, confident, clear-headed, and then have her just like really lay it on the table. I actually would be interested to have one of the former group mates of Papa YG's wife to write a book, because we don't hear enough about like early K-pop, and like this is somebody who was in a girl group and got her entire group tanked because her boss was horny for her group member. So I would love to hear her write the book and be like, you know, this is how that thing went, and this is how he was creeping around all the time, this is the stuff he did to sabotage us, this is the reason why you never saw me do anything else, because I could not escape my contract and no one else wanted to touch me. Like, there's so much in that story that I'd love to hear. But yeah, you tell me down below, like, who would you want to write the book? I would even be really interested to hear G-Dragon's book. If G-Dragon wrote a book, I think it'd be really interesting, because, like, what is it like to be the favorite? Because that's another story. Like, you know, Rachel portrays herself as the favorite of her label, but like G-Dragon, when you think of like the label's favorite, G-Dragon, more than anyone else in the entire history of K-pop, is his label's favorite. He is the favorite child of YG. And I would love to hear from him, like, what is it like to be in that position and the pressures of being in that position and being expected to always make it work, to always be forward thinking, to always be able to keep up the manic pace of things and make sure that every single time you come out, nothing ever goes bad. So I don't know. Those are the people I'd like to hear a book from. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.